Thank you for joining us. So why are you now supporting Graham Brady?
Because my amendment was also dealing with the backstop, but to increase the chances of bringing the party together, to bringing the DUP on board, and then sending a strong message to the EU as to what actually Parliament wants. I've dropped my amendments and will be supporting Sir Graham Brady's, because that too deals with this real problem for many of us, and that is the possibility that we could, the UK, be stuck in a backstop that was indefinite.
The EU, there hasn't been unity here, but there's been unity within the EU for a long time, which is 27 countries saying the absolute fundamental that we will not change is for there to be an insurance policy that means in the event of no agreement on the future status of the relationship between the UK and the EU, there is not a hard border. That hasn't changed.
But they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, don't forget the EU...
Well, it's a reality, isn't it? It will be the border with the EU, and if there is not a close trading relationship, there'll be a hard border. But the EU has a long track record of 11th hour deals. It's done so many of them, it could actually write the book on them. The bottom line is there is the technology available to deal with this issue. That's been proven. We now need to open our minds. No, that's been discussed many times, and many times it's been said the technology isn't actually there to make it a reality.
Well, if we can send goods around the world, crossing various customs arrangements, trading blocks and customs unions, there's no reason why we can't do likewise without a hard border across the border of Northern Ireland.
This is where it gets really, really confusing for everybody, and particularly I imagine people listening at home, which is it boils down to the Irish border and whether there be a hard border or not, and the political implications around that for the Northern Ireland, the Irish piece. But then we're told on different sides of the debate, I mean, one side is saying it's effectively a bogus argument because it's not really an issue.
May I suggest, though, that we may be getting bogged down on this one particular issue when actually the key issue is whether we're going to engineer enough support for Sir Graham Brady's amendment, because what that does, it's a mechanism to go back to the EU and say, look, send a very clear message, and that is we're not going to be stuck in an indefinite backstop, but we want to discuss alternative arrangements with you. And one of those we've heard us servicing today, which you've just alluded to, the Malthouse amendment, or not amendment, but the idea of compromise. Let's just get a message, let's send the Prime Minister back with the remit, courtesy of a vote today, to actually see if the EU would listen.
I understand why you're saying that we need to focus on what happens here today and whether there can be unity here today, because obviously that is the vital first step today here. But it inevitably goes back into the European melting pot, and the fact that 27 EU countries have said in the event of a no-deal Brexit, in the event of anything other than a really close trading relationship, there will be a hard border, and we will not countenance that.
Well, you then saw 2 days ago Michel Barnier, the chief EU negotiator, say perhaps we can't force Ireland to put up a hard border. Perhaps there could be alternative arrangements, technologies that could help. Now, he himself said that a few days ago, which suggests that at least there's an openness of mind. You can hear with quite a lot of support. It's never quiet, is it? So all we're saying is, look, there's a history of 11th hour deals. What this amendment would do, if we can pass the Graham Brady's amendment today, is embolden the Prime Minister to go back and say, actually, you now know what is the problem. It is the backstop. We need to address this if you want to avoid the UK leaving on WTO terms by which we profitably trade with the rest of the world outside the EU. So if you want to avoid that, which the EU does, let's negotiate.
Let's see what happens. Thank you very much, John Barron.